Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 764th stated meeting of the Philadelphia Historical Commission. I'm Zachary Frankel, the chair of the Philadelphia Historical Commission. We're going to start by just going around to my left and having the commissioners introduce themselves, and then Dr. John Farnham, the executive director of the Philadelphia Historical Commission, will give a few brief remarks about how this meeting will operate.
Kyle O'Connor, Department of Public Property.
Dan McGubry, architect, chair of the Architectural Review Committee.
Good morning, Donna Carney, designee of the Planning Commission.
Good morning, Matthew Treat, representing Department of Planning and Development.
Good morning, Kim Washington, representative of the Community Development Corporations and vice chair of the commission.
Good morning, Bob Thomas, a preservation architect here in Philadelphia and a member of the commission.
Good morning, John Leck, representing the Department of Licenses and Inspections.
Good morning, Franz Robauer.
Good morning, Emily Cooperman, architectural and landscape historian and chair of the Historic Designation Committee.
Good morning, Thomas Holloman, architect, representing Council President.
Thank you very much, everybody, and now I'll turn over to Dr. John Farnham.
Good morning. As the chair said, my name is John Farnham. Just a couple of notes about how today's meeting will run. The meeting is being recorded, and by participating in the meeting, you are consenting to being recorded. The recording will be available later today or perhaps Monday on the Historical Commission's website, www.phila.gov/historical. Also on that website, you'll find everything you need to participate in today's meeting, the agenda, building permit applications, nominations, and any public comment received by noon yesterday. Every agenda item includes an opportunity for public comment. If you'd like to comment, you will need to raise your hand, whether you're here in the room or out on Zoom. And once the chair has acknowledged you to speak, you'll need to unmute yourself from your end if you are on Zoom. If you happen to be on a standard telephone, *9 to raise and lower your hand, *6 to mute and unmute. The commission typically makes its decisions by unanimous consent, but if there is apparent disagreement among commissioners, a roll call vote can be conducted. The Historical Commission has adopted guidelines for conduct at its meetings. It includes order of presentation, time limits, and such. If you're unfamiliar with those, please take a look at them. They are available on the Historical Commission's website on the public meetings page. Thanks very much. I'll turn it back to the chair.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll turn into our first item on the agenda today, which is the adoption of the minutes from the 763rd stated meeting of the Philadelphia Historical Commission. Are there any comments from commissioners on the meeting minutes from last month's meeting? Seeing no comments, are there any comments from the public on last month's meeting minutes?
No hands are raised on Zoom.
Is there a motion to adopt last month's meeting minutes? Is there a second? Hearing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. Next, we will move into our report on the Architectural Committee. I will turn over to Dan McCubry, the chair of that committee, to present the consent agenda, 406 South Camac Street.
406 South Camac Street is on the consent agenda. I will make a motion that it remain on the consent agenda.
Okay. I'll second that. Any opposition? Hearing no opposition, the consent agenda is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. We'll move on to our regular agenda, 2027 and 2029 Brandywine Street, and we'll turn over to Heather Hendrickson of the Philadelphia Commission staff in order to present.
Good morning. This is Kim Chantry. I'll be presenting for Heather today. And I just promoted Kenny Grono, the architect and applicant for this project. This revised application proposes to demolish the roofs and rears of 2 adjoining row houses and construct a 4th floor addition set back from the front cornice by 12 feet 10 inches. In this project, the buildings at 2027 and 2029 Brandywine Street would be converted into one single-family home with additional space in the new 4th floor addition. A 3rd floor rear deck is proposed that would span the 2 properties. The rear of the property has some visibility from 20th Street. The first iteration of this application that was presented to the Architectural Committee, which is on the left on their screen, proposed a large gabled roof that spanned both properties and the entirety of the main blocks. The Architectural Committee recommended that the applicant retain more of the flat roofed form of the main block, as a gabled roof was not historically appropriate for this row. And so the Architectural Committee had recommended denial pursuant to standards 9 and 10 of that gable roof design. This revised application is in response to those suggestions. And we have Kenny Grono here to explain the revised design.
Thank you very much, Kim. Next, we'll ask the applicant to please elevate yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Good morning. Thank you for having me here. My name is Kenny Grono. I'm the president of Buckminster Green. We're a design build remodeling firm, and we've been working with the Historic Commission for about 20 years on projects. So we are familiar with the process, though this is the first time we've been to the actual commission. So thank you for having us. My clients are not able to attend today, but James and Elizabeth would have me tell you that they've lived in one of these homes for 20 years, raised their family here, and are committed both to the neighborhood and to the historic integrity of the neighborhood. So from the beginning, everything we've done has been an attempt to maintain the historic facades along Brandywine and to limit visibility of the changes that we're making to the properties. I think Kim did an excellent job of summarizing what we're trying to do here. Both 2027 and 2029 Brandywine, our intent is to maintain the existing look and make improvements that are in keeping with the historic or the history of the property. So all windows would be replaced with 2/2. We are maintaining the historic ironwork out front, which is something that was mentioned in the designation in the neighborhood. The brick will be restored with guidance from the staff. Cornices maintained, although that's not clear in that rendering. There will be no changes to the cornices other than paint. As Kim mentioned, we had originally proposed a gable design to the roof, which was not visible from the street, but the Architectural Committee advised us that it's not historically appropriate for an Italianate row. So we revised the design. We are retaining the flat roof for the first 12-foot 10, and then we have a small 4th floor addition. One of the other things that was brought up at the Architectural Committee had to do with the amount of material that we intend to remove from the rear L's of the property, so where the house jogs at the back. At the time, I knew that there had been changes made to those L's. I knew that at 2029, there was a 3-foot CMU addition added onto it. But after hearing the committee's comments, we dug a little deeper into what was actually going on there and found that 2029, we believe the entire rear L may be frame. It's certainly a significant portion of it is frame. The first floor was expanded at some point prior to my client's ownership. And we can see from the basement and provided some photos of that. That is a frame addition over a slab on grade. So the rear L of 2029 was already expanded in width. Both properties have had sliding doors put in and changes made to the rear facade. But when we started investigating windows, we saw that in 2029, we have a deeper jamb that indicates the masonry that still remains their original masonry that's been covered in stucco. In 2029, though, we have, and I think a following page here shows a narrower jamb. When I spoke with the owners and they talked about some minor work they had done replacing a door, they were confident that this rear wall is no longer masonry, that this has already been changed to frame at some point, and the narrower jamb depth indicates that. Additionally, the space between the two L's that we are proposing to combine as a part of this single home that we're constructing is not visible from a public right-of-way. In the photo shown above the white car, there's a red X on part of the rear facade of 2029 that's visible through that alley off of Green Street, but the space between is not. It's blocked by houses. So our contention is that these rear L's have already been substantially altered in irreversible ways, and that the work that we propose should therefore be approved. I think that's it. I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from commissioners at this time?
Yeah, actually, I have a few. Did you look into historic maps analysis for these properties?
So I did review some historic maps. I saw on there that on this block, the rear L's are original to the home. So before these alterations that I spoke of, those L's were there. That's all I really got out of the maps.
Because the way you're describing it really lacks precision. And it would be important to have evidence about what was there at what point. So, for example, if you look at 19th century maps, you can see the materiality, the number of stories of these rear L's. They stretch into the 20th century. Sanborn maps would have given you this information. Historic aerial photographs might tell you when these changes took place, so we could understand their historicity or lack thereof. Photographs that document the conditions that you're talking about would also be extremely helpful, rather than a narrative that is not keyed really clearly to the photographs that you've presented. So I personally feel like I don't have enough information to really understand what you're describing without real documentation.
Thank you for the comments. The only evidence we could find, as I said, this isn't visible. So the only evidence we could find regarding the L's was there is documentation online with the city that documents the changes to 2029, the addition there. There is no documentation. It seems like the work was not permitted at 2027, and it's not visible in any photographs, would not be visible in historic photographs.
And when was this work, and what's the documentation? Is it actual permits or what?
So for 2029, there's a zoning application online for the addition to the rear L. It's also visible in the photographs. You can see where it switches to CMU. I show a side view of that. For 2027, there is no record, and my clients have been there for 20 years, and the condition pre-existed them. So if you look at the bottom right photograph shown, from the window to the right, that is all an extension of the original L, and the material changes from stucco over brick to a painted CMU with vinyl siding above.
I think a key concern of the architectural committee here was the extent of demolition. And this proposal is actually removing the entire rear Ls of both properties, the rear wall of both properties, all of the floors of each property and the roof of the property. So that's going to be presumably more than 2/3 of the structure of the building. So I think this is very likely going to constitute a demolition. I think, typically the focus on the Ls is we often allow changes to the Ls, understanding that those are areas that can adapt. But I think the big concern of the committee was the main block of the house, the entire removal of whatever remains of the rear wall. But then also an extension above a fourth floor on what is the equivalent of the main block of the house. We typically, wouldn't even allow a deck on a main block if there's an opportunity for a deck on a rear wing. It's also difficult to assess this because there is no information about the adjoining properties. This row happens to be very consistent. 3-story main block, 2-story rear wing, decks above the rear Ls. And it is part of a district, so that, what you do here really is impacting the row. And we would have to imagine then that people would be a precedent set for popping up essentially what's on the main block of the roofs of these houses. I think some of the photos show the amazing consistency of decks as you go along. And I think there's a projection out to the rear of the main block also that interrupts that, the now quite continuous rear wall at the third floor. And it would be very helpful if we had renderings of the rear showing the adjacent buildings and their configuration. That said, I think the flat roof approach is certainly preferable to the big gable that was shown in the earlier scheme. But I think, the party wall is largely gone, all of the rear Ls, the rear wall, and all the floors and roof. So I think it really is going to be considered a demolition.
I have one more comment about the revised. It looks to me as if you're proposing a segmental arch fan light over the doors, which is not present in the existing, which is the historic condition, it looks like from the photographs and sort of looking down the rest of the block. So that would not meet the standards. It would create a false.
I'd like to respond to Dan's points as well, but real quickly, I'm not sure what fan light you're referring to. We're not making any changes to the front facades along those lines.
Well, then the drawing I'm looking at is.
Could you direct me on the drawing?
I apologize. It's my mistake. I do apologize.
So I'd love to respond to a couple of Dan McCruber's points. In terms of the extent of demolition, I agree with the extent of demolition to the rear Ls, as well as the rear wall. And that's why I was trying to indicate that the rear wall has already been demolished on 2024 and rebuilt with frame in terms of the reversibility of that. In terms of the extent of demolition in the main part of the house, we share the concern, perhaps not as much from a historic standpoint, but from a structural standpoint. We want to retain the front facades and we want to retain them in good condition. And so our design did attempt to maintain as much of the party wall, the central party wall, as possible, and use selective areas where we open that because that will be the best thing that we can have in place during construction to maintain that front facade. Our work plan also involves only removing one floor at a time to keep the structural integrity during work. As far as replacing floors, this really is necessary from a constructability standpoint. It's not that we are making continuous floors from one side to the other straight through. We are ending and ledgering our floors along the party wall. That's the way this is designed. But in terms of replacing those materials, that is necessary just given the age and condition. Same for the roof. The roofs of both are not in great condition, and the structure is in need of being replaced. We are, though, replacing it with the flat roof that is there now rather than the gable from before.
Any other comments from commissioners at this time? Go ahead, Bob.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I have a question. I've been looking at the plans, and there are two site plans. One shows a consolidated parcel A. I assume that's 27 and 9. But I'm having trouble finding where this sits in the block on any of your plans. There's no overall site plan of the block.
I see, yes. So what we put together is what was required by zoning. We have received zoning for this project, and the lot consolidation is complete. I believe the address may now be 2027 for both.
No, I understand about zoning requirements.
As far as the context of where they sit, it's approximately in the middle of the block.
Yeah, could you take the phone outside, please? Thank you. Yeah, or go around the wall. Thank you. Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Could you repeat that, please?
In terms of its siting within the block, it's approximately in the middle of the block.
Okay, no, because that helps in understanding. Obviously, I would feel differently if it were at the very end of the block. So. All right, what is the address of the last house on the block? Is it 20?
It's 2063.
Okay, so it's that far, and the first house I assume is 2001.
Yes.
I used to live a half a block away from this for 5 years, so I know the block. I just want to know where it is. This is a difficult situation for me. I probably walked up and down this street and continue to use it probably several thousand times over the last 50 years. So literally. So I certainly have a feeling for the street. I've thought about it. I don't know what the back of this property looks like. It's really barely, it's hardly visible. I mean, Mount Vernon, which is to the north, is 3-story buildings of a taller scale. I understand the issues of, the integrity of the start material, the issue of demolition. I'm looking at the reuse of this property, and I'm just wondering if we can find a way to look at this. I mean, to have a property, I've seen other people, we did it on Moravian Street for a client. She fortunately fell in love with the guy next door, and there was a complete party wall, so they could make one house out of it. There weren't any L's. The L's were in the right direction. Here they're in the wrong direction. And I really, with more information, as Dr. Cooperman suggested, what is really the construction, what's going on, would this be a demolition or not? I understand the desire to bump out that L for a whole bunch of reasons architecturally, to make a building that is financially more viable, and that would help to preserve the integrity of the block. That's a compromise personally I would be willing to make. So
I would say it's not so much the L's again. I think it's more about the main block of the house, and that, filling in the L, I don't think we had,
okay.
No one in the committee had any issues with that. I would say it's primarily A, the extent of demolition, and then B, the bump up on the roof of what effectively is the main block of the house. So
right, that I'm more concerned about. Yeah. Simply because this is a totally intact block. But I think what happens below the 3rd floor level, in the back is
Yeah.
not visible. And I would say that, you know, in terms of making a sensible, valuable, single family home of this nature, you know, that would be to be allowed to do whatever you want in the back where it's not visible, right? But retain the scale of the block.
Of the main
I think
block.
that's a reasonable compromise. Even if, you know, taking down those Ls. Now, the other thing too, when they come down, the other thing from a zoning point of view, of course, is light and air. But because the way Ls flip-flop, when these come down and they're built up, there's already a party wall between 25 and 27 and between 29 and 31. So their side windows will not be affected.
Yeah.
We've seen that where you have an L and then somebody else has an L, and then they build up and suddenly your window, which had some nice light, is looking at a blank wall.
Yeah.
That would not happen here. So I think in terms of the character of so forth, that would be preserved. So if there was a solution that involved basically filling in whatever you want on the first, second, and third floor in the back. and
Also,
then-
you know, you're combining two properties. It's not as if there's a shortage of space. And sometimes, you know, in a very small house, we are somewhat more accommodating to a vertical expansion. But I also realize that there is limited visibility of the rear here. There's a little slot view, and then there's a view across from 20th Street, but it's quite remote. But I do think that basically the compromise of the mass of the main block is kind of the key consideration. And you know, as I said, we typically wouldn't even allow a deck up on a main block of a roof. And here they're essentially building a room up there.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I think from my perspective, speaking of someone who is not an architect, but who can read plans, a full set of existing conditions would really help with proposed demo, rather than just proposed new construction. And I think that goes along with the question of the Ls. You know, I understand from your perspective that you're saying they're not historic, but it would really be helpful to have documentation of what the actual conditions are, what the materials are, so that we could have a sense of if you can't provide detailed information about when the materials of the Ls were put in place, then at least we could perhaps have a better means of judging for ourselves.
So if I could speak to a couple points.
Sure.
One, I think there may be a misunderstanding in terms of the rear. Part of the reason why we put the fourth floor where we did was to set it back enough from the front that we would not have visibility from Brandywine Street. But along the rear, whoever said that there is a very consistent rear elevation, I agree with that. And there are decks along, and we tried to maintain a lot of that and have our deck match up with the others so that we weren't affecting light and air. We do have an extension of what's the primary bedroom where it does come past that, but along 2029 we maintain that rear line. In terms of the extent of demolition within the main block, it certainly would be possible with our plan. We're not changing floor heights. We have a jog between the two houses, and we are maintaining that along the front. So it would be possible to maintain those floor joists with this plan. It just from a constructability standpoint doesn't seem like the best plan to us. And then in terms of materials and the extent of demolition, the page that's currently up is our demo plan that shows in dotted lines where walls are being removed. You can see on 2A1, the first floor demolition plan, that section along 2027 where the house is full width, so it's no longer an L. And then I have photos further down from underneath of that frame construction. we attempted to peel back some of the siding to figure out what was underneath that. We were going to end up exposing the house to weather. So instead, we went inside and took photographs of the windows at both houses to show the different wall depth and show that that's a 2x4 wall at 2029. I think it's one of the very last photos, Kim. Yeah, so here, this is in 2029, looking out onto the rear L, and that's a window in a 2x4 wall. And then the next page shows a similar window looking out onto the L with a deeper jamb in a masonry wall. And you can see through that window the wall between the two properties. And then you can see the addition where the L was expanded into that space. It's also true that the way these are laid out, we have party walls on either side. In terms of other conditions, the chimneys happen to be grouped between my properties, so we do not have any adjoining chimneys above. Perhaps that's helpful.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I just took a look at the aerial photos, oblique aerials for this block, and there are 9 decks, but they're, with one exception, they're all in the rear L. So you have the 2-story rear L, and there's a deck on top of that. One home has a deck there. They also have a deck on the back portion of the main block, but there's no structure, just a deck floor. Now that may have changed since the photo was taken, but
No, that's correct. That's at the very beginning of the block, right around 20th.
Yeah,
There is
20th.
a deck on the top of
so
the third floor.
We don't know
I think-
whether that was pre or post designation too, so.
Yeah, so, so I think, understanding what you're trying to do, but being consistent with the block, other people have taken advantage of rear Ls in that manner, and I think that, again, consolidating the rear L, doing that, with the additional information to give us comfort is probably a reasonable solution. And then, well, that's what I'm suggesting.
Thanks, Dan.
I mean, I would just sum up by saying, other than the question of demolition, which I think this would constitute, the primary objection would in my opinion, is the extension of a 4th floor on what's the equivalent of the main block of the house.
I think that the deck that's at the rear of the main block of 2003 or whatever it is down at that end, that's completely invisible.
Yeah.
It's not projecting above the existing roof. It doesn't change the structure of the roof. There's no demolition to do that. So, that approach certainly would, I would vote to approve.
Any other comments from commissioners at this time?
Bob, are you talking about something different from the 4th floor?
I'm not talking about changing the existing roof at all. I'm talking about what's there at another home in the block at the rear of the main block is a roof deck that is built on top of the existing roof, the original roof.
Right.
And it's to the back. Begins at the rear wall of the main block, and it looks like it extends up about 12 feet or whatever.
On top of the L.
No, on top of the main block.
Oh, on top of the main block.
Right.
I'm not seeing it in the photograph.
Right.
It's just out of sight in my photograph.
I'm just looking for it in the rear photograph.
Yeah, it's just out of sight. It's right at 20th Street. So it's visible from Brandywine, 20th, Green. That deck is visible from everywhere. But I think just a tiny bit of it. So you can see the red deck.
Yeah, right.
It's a newer deck, probably last 10 years. That red deck, there then are steps up to another red deck. That's the house we're talking about. You just can't see the upper red deck.
I was trying to find it on the photograph from the rear.
Anything else from commissioners? Should we open up to the public? Okay, go ahead. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. My name's Kathy Dowdell. I'm here as a member of the public, but I am also an architect. I have no connection to this project, nor to the contractors. But I do want to emphasize the point that Commissioner McCoubry made. The drawings that were submitted for your approval show removal of all of the floor framing on the second floor, all of the floor framing on the third floor, all of the roof framing, significant party wall demolition, most of the rear Ls. When I read Philadelphia's rules, it says more than 2/3 removal of framing and exterior walls constitutes complete demolition. I'm not as concerned about this project, but I'm concerned that if this is approved without viewing this as a complete demolition, we will see projects coming forward that are characterized as alterations, but in fact are complete demolitions and facade-ectomies. I would love for Commissioner-elect to weigh in from LNI's point of view if he's able to, but I think that if this went to LNI as it's currently proposed, I would expect LNI to reject it and call it a complete demolition. And then if it comes back to you guys, there's nothing that meets the criteria for demolition. These buildings can be used for their original intended purpose. This is not in the public interest. They're still significant. So I would encourage, and I assumed that all of the framing was being removed to level out the floors on the two sides of the two buildings. If in fact that's not the case, then I would strongly encourage the owners and the contractors to leave enough framing that you're not taking out more than 2/3 of the building. And then the code can characterize this as a significant alteration, but still an alteration. But I think the way it's being presented right now is, I won't say dangerous, but I would say highly unfortunate. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment.
Can I respond?
Why don't we hear other comments from or
Sure.
see if there's any other comments from the public?
No hands are raised,
Okay,
but
great.
I'd like to make a
Sure.
comment if.
Yeah, by all means.
I just want to point out that the LNI's definition of complete demolition and the Historical Commission's definition of demolition that would trigger the requirement for a financial hardship review are not one and the same. The Historical Commission's definition of demolition is razing or destruction in whole or significant part. Now, I'm certainly not advocating for you to approve this project, but you could determine that what Mr. Grono is trying to remove is not a removal in significant part. And I apologize, the language there is kind of difficult, but you could decide that removing the back of this building, even part of the main block, is not a removal of a significant part of the building. So you have the discretion to decide whether or not,
But-
even if LNI were to call this a complete
But
demolition.
that doesn't trump LNI's review of this.
Right.
So that's important to note. LNI, we are not doing the job of LNI here. They do their own review.
Right. You decide whether or not a significant part of the historic building, the character defining features are being
Correct.
removed.
Thank you for making that distinction. All right, understanding that and seeing no other comments from the public, we'll hear from the applicant once more.
So real briefly, to the applicant or to the commenter from the public, thank you. I appreciate what you're saying. And full transparency, we're trying to be honest about what process we intend on taking here. We will have a monitoring plan. There's going to be monitoring of the project. And like I said before, we're not demolishing the front structure at once. We are removing and replacing floor joists that will then ledger back to the party wall. That does have openings through it, but we're retaining the party wall, and we will be ledgering new joists to those one floor at a time to make sure that we are maintaining this. So we feel that's best for the longevity of the block and this structure, and just updating this, having a fully sprinklered building in the middle of the block with floor joists that were replaced. so that we're no longer pocketed into masonry walls. We're creating fire separation. We're ledgering new joists in a safe way that's monitored. To me, that feels like an improvement for the integrity of the block.
Thank you.
There was one hand raised
Sure,
while
we'll
I
hear
was
from
speaking.
the final comment from the public.
We can unmute Robert Powers.
Hi, Bob, go ahead.
Good morning, folks. Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I was just tuning in on this case. I am a resident of the Spring Garden neighborhood. Actually, my firm completed the designation of this neighborhood for the local historic district. So I know this block very well as many of the other blocks. And this is really truly an intact 3-story block. I was walking down it actually the other day and was really impressed with how consistent it was as the 3 stories. And I also agree with Kathy's comments on the extent of demolition. We're not just talking about a single building. We're talking about a combination of 2 buildings. So there's extensive amount of floor area there. So it's to me, this is just in general overkill for a project, what they're proposing to do. As to the 4th floor, there's no reason that they need to be going up to that 4th floor. You will be able to see that from certain points along Brandywine Street. So it will be noticeable. And I agree, we don't even allow decks on main blocks. Why would we allow this? And if they need an extra room, I believe they could even put it onto the back of the 3rd floor. So where they currently have a proposed deck. So it seems like there's certainly options here for moving forward with an alternative design. And certainly I agree, let's get all the documentation together to really understand this project more thoroughly. Photographs are terrible, their drawings are minimal. Put a good package together and let people evaluate it accordingly. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Are there any other comments from commissioners at this time? Is there a motion for commissioners at this time?
Dan McCubry, I will make a motion to deny alterations and additions at 2027 to 2029 Brandywine Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any commissioners opposed at this time? Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you, commissioners. Thank you very much, Kim. We'll move now on to, go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, I think we should just put in the minutes that we encourage the applicant to come and meet with the staff and go over the contents of what would be a complete package so that we could understand not just the zoning, but also all the historic preservation aspects of the project.
Sure.
We'd like to work to a solution.
Yeah, let that be noted in the minutes. We always encourage applicant participation.
Yep.
Move on to our next order of business, which is 408 South 22nd Street. We'll turn over to Josh Schroeder from the Historic Commission staff to present.
Good morning, Josh Schroeder with the staff. Before I read an overview, if either Michael Bucci or Angela Bucci or Kate Woodson are attending online, if you could raise your hand to speak to the application. Thank you. This revised application proposes to raise the front door at the row house at 408 South 22nd Street, add marble front steps and a handrail, and replace the existing double-leaf door with a single-leaf door with a panel layout resembling the existing door design.
Oh, that's Josh.
Existing crown molding and transom at the top of the door would remain. The existing door panel below would be removed. In response to the Architectural Committee's comments, the applicants have removed the originally proposed raised panel side lights in favor of a plainer beaded edge molding around the proposed new door. And for some context, all 7 houses from 400 to 412 South 22nd Street were constructed simultaneously in about 1869. The existing entrances at 408 and 410 have fewer steps and lower doors than the adjacent houses, though the doorway heights are consistent across all 7. The staff was unable to locate any record of alteration to these front entrances, but 408 and 410 share similar features that distinguish the pair from the rest of the row, suggesting the pair were altered since their construction. And the Architectural Committee recommended approval of the proposed steps and door placement, provided a handrail is included, but denial of the originally proposed door design pursuant to standards 2 and 9.
Thank you, Josh. Any, as we'll hear from the applicant if they're available.
Hello. This is Michael Bucci, we're the architects. And one of the driving concerns on the single door here is the security issue that the owners have had break-ins through their door. So they're concerned about the double door and ability to lock it. And it's also difficult getting in and out, the single operative leaf, rather than, opening two doors. It's only, I think it's 25 inches wide. So they would prefer like a single door there to get in and out. A larger door that we did study comes too close to the interior vestibule doors for comfort. So we kind of settled on a 36-inch wide door, hoping that that's like some compromise point that would satisfy the owner's requirements and safety concerns and usability of the front door.
Thank you, Michael. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time? Go ahead, Bob.
We've worked on quite a few in our office, buildings of the same age here in Philadelphia with the double doors. And we've also had to make many of them accessible. Of course, you need a 32-inch clear opening. I don't see a plan of that vestibule. And I hear you about the door being too long. But our experience in 30-some homes was to make a single door, use two pairs of hinges that are the proper size, and have it work. What is the actual? I mean, a vestibule needs to be at least 4 feet, and we're not talking about a door that would be that big.
The two doors combined is over 4 feet. The original opening, it's like
4'2" from what you were saying.
4'2", yeah.
And what's the dimension of the vestibule?
The vestibule is, I think, a little over 4 feet. Let me zoom in on it there. We do have a dimension there.
I think it's about 4 feet 10 inches.
Yeah, so the door would fit.
Yeah, the door would fit, but it's like very hard to maneuver around that door.
So if it opens all the way, if you're coming in, you
have to like sort of lean to one side and.
If
What's
it's
that?
a single door, it opens 90 degrees or a little more, and then you can walk into the interior door. It's a strong building. You build the jamb strong enough to carry the weight of the door.
Yeah, we studied that, and with the owner, they really didn't think that was going to be a comfortable door for them.
The issues that you raise of, the difficulties with having doors that are, where one leaf is too narrow, we understand that. The difficulty of, cold air, the jam and so forth, and the flush bolts not working. We used it on houses that were being renovated through the Redevelopment Authority and the Housing Authority that were all under historic requirements in North Philadelphia. The first block was back in the 1980s. People were very concerned about security, very concerned. And this door, they realized, was the strongest thing they could do. So just my own experience is that you could do the same thing here. And the door, I mean, where you have the two leaves, it can get it more in the way. But with the door, if your vestibule is 4'10", which sounds right for a vestibule, and the door is 4'2", you have another 6, 8 inches of space when the door is open 100%. The other thing, it gives an even wider opening if you're moving, equipment in and out, construction equipment, appliances, whatever. That works really well.
I'm going to repeat myself to some extent, but this time I actually did find the photograph of the existing conditions, but it is buried and it's at a scale which you cannot accurately judge the condition of the door. I mean, if it were, it would be helpful to have some sense of has there been damage to the doors from break-ins? It's not visible on the photographs that are in the package. And I don't know, maybe I'm being naive, but I would have thought that if there had been break-ins, there might actually have been damage to the doors. And if it's not damage to the doors, then perhaps it's the locks. I don't know. I mean, I'm just asking these questions.
Well, she didn't elaborate on how they broke in, but the door does have quite a bit of wear on it. There's a lot of air leakage. I think it's warped a little bit too. So, the existing doors probably do need replacement at this point in time. So with that, as that comes in mind, they really wanted the thing on the steps to be at the first level, raising taking the panels over top of the door out and leaving the transom in, which is consistent, I think, with the rest of the block.
I think everything that you're proposing with the stairs and raising the door and the transom is done very nicely. It's just that you've got beautiful original doors, which, a good carpenter or workshop could fix up and splice presumably into a single door.
I hear what you're saying, but the owner they have objection to the double door, and a single door at that size is a really heavy door and just a little bit hard to maneuver when you walk around when you get inside there. You don't have a lot of width.
Hinges will do wonders.
As far as the weight and the operation, that's a function of the hinges and the quality of hardware that you use. I'm sure every day you open doors in town here that are heavier than these two doors together, that have the proper ball-bearing hinges. So the hinges that we've used in the same situation with them, and it is a heavy door, which gives you very good security. No, I think that the framing and so forth would work.
And, this block is kind of remarkable at how many of those original doors exist on all of the other houses along that side.
The other thing that's possible is we've also seen the situation where people have exactly the same concerns. The doors are too narrow to get in and out of easily. There's air leakage. There's security hassles with the one door not locking well into the other. You can combine these into one door with steel stripping. You route out all around the outside, screw a steel frame, which is maybe quarter, maybe 3/8 of an inch by 1 inch. It's inset into the door, and suddenly you have something that will last longer than this house.
I realize that that's all possible. So,
Well, we're trying to give you ideas so that meet historic preservation standards, preserve, and also this is not there are many parts of the Rittenhouse district where there was one house built, then another, then three, whatever. This is part of a row. And so we're looking at not only this property, your property, but also its impact on a row, where things are all together. And that's what an historic district is about, that there's a consistency.
Yeah. And these are a set of mirror image. I mean, you did include a photograph of the adjacent property that shows that these doors are paired. They're not single design entities. They're design entities that were part of this group of mirror image buildings. And once you change that opening which is reflected, I mean, literally a sort of mirror image in the adjacent property, you've changed one of the important character defining features of this block, which is the fact that it was a single design entity. And that's part of the problem.
Well put.
I mean, the proposal we were trying to, you know, replicate the molding, design, and shape of the door as closely as possible and get it into, you know, more functional door for the house. So the proposal, like with the door design and all, is try to imitate as closely as possible the remainder of the block. And we would hope that that could be acceptable.
It also, just a question, it looks like there must be steps inside.
Yeah,
since-
there's a
So
few
you're
steps.
rebuilding the vestibule anyway, so you could make the vestibule whatever size you need to make
Well,
it
we weren't going to
comfortable.
take out the interior doors or walls of the vestibule. We're just going to rebuild the floor. The interior has rather ornate moldings and an arched transom over that's similar to the front door. So we didn't want to disturb any of that detail. We just want to fill in the floor. They're going to put a new wainscot on either side of the vestibule that imitates the wainscot that's there now. It's simply a raised panel wainscot. And that's it. We didn't really want to take those walls down and disturb all of that work that's there now.
Any other comments from commissioners? Are there any comments from the public at this time?
No hands are raised.
Is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
Excuse me, I'm sorry, one hand
is
was
raised.
just
Go-
raised.
Go ahead.
Oscar Beiser.
Of course, go ahead, Mr. Bowser.
Oscar Beiser Keeping Society. When you first look at these buildings along this block, the first thing you notice are these grand double doors. They should not be changed. And if they are changed, it should just be done as I think Bob suggested, one single panel. And, you know, it's like someone has bought a tiara here and they're saying it's too heavy on their head. It's like, this is a grand, beautiful block, and to change these doors would be a mistake. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments from the commission, from the public at this time?
No other hands are raised.
Is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
Dan McCouprie, I will make a motion of denial for the door as proposed at 408 South 42nd Street, but approval of raising the door and installation of new marble steps with a handrail.
A second.
Are there any in opposition?
Yes. I don't agree with raising the door.
It was lowered at some point. It was originally high.
Well, the mirror image one is also low.
Okay.
Right then, I guess we,
You want to make another motion, or you want to take it to a vote?
let's take a vote.
Okay. All right, sure thing. We'll go to a roll call vote. John, if you want to go ahead and lead the vote, please.
I have a question. If one of us happens to disagree and votes no to this motion, would that in turn give the owner the right to proceed? No,
No.
okay, just ask.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we would have to vote an approval, actually. Having that, a second one. Yeah,
Sure.
just wanted to check.
Absolutely. Before we take a vote, Emily, do you want to make a comment?
I would like to have clarity on what the historic condition is, because it seems like, I mean, the paired doorway at 408 is also low. And it looked like, and again, this would be where more detailed photographs of the existing might be helpful. Looking at the one detail, I can't really tell how old the marble stoop is compared to the others. I mean, are all the other doorways raised on this block, and it's just these two that are lower? And we,
It's a pair.
So this is
I'm not-
Josh with the staff. I
Yeah.
looked into like the original deeds for when these rows were built, and they're
Yeah.
described as three-story buildings with no mention of
no,
mansards on these two.
right.
But we don't have records of when a mansard may or may not have been put.
No, I'm
up.
not talking about the mansard. I'm talking about the actual height of the
I think
doorway.
the mansard
don't.
kind of goes with the
Yeah,
lowering of the doors. So that it was a renovation at some point in the,
well, again, this would be
18, whatever, but we
where
don't
more
know when.
detailed photographs of the conditions, because I would be highly unlikely there would be a permit that would relate to these.
Well, the marble step is like a 3/4 inch marble.
It's not a question of dimension.
Yeah, but I mean that the condition of the marble steps is kind of shown in this front entrance photograph.
Well, again,
right?
if you had a
Is it-
detailed photograph that was in focus, it would be very helpful.
Hmm.
Rather than just a general shot in which you really can't see the condition of any of the materials in any kind of specific way.
Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, no, I would say that if this was unique in this block, the configuration of the door and the steps, and there had been changes, and somebody had documentation and wanted to take it back, we would probably agree to that. Where this is a pair, if you look at the drawings that were there, I mean, I try to be more eloquent in what I say, but it reminds me of, you know, a bunch of kids where one's sitting up and one's sitting down, and you know, it just doesn't fit in. That and if these were altered at some time together, that's part of the history.
Yeah, I mean, that's an important, I mean, I think I hadn't quite gotten there in terms of articulating it, but we're not talking about changes that happened in 1983.
No,
We're talking about historic changes. So
clearly.
these are not, these are these are contributing in a sense.
It could have even happened at the time they were built, that the people buying
It's
them,
possible.
some changes. Yeah, it
Yeah.
goes back that far.
All right.
I think we've offered some answers,
Sure.
several of us, to solving the problems that the owners may be concerned about, of security, et cetera.
I agree. I think
So I
at
would
this,
encourage whatever we have, that they
Yeah.
work with staff and provide more
we
information.
always encourage the applicants to work with staff. I think at this point, we have enough information to take it to a roll call vote, and we
Yes.
should do that.
Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Commissioner Hollow.
Can we hear the motion again?
Sure. Dan, do you want to repeat the
So,
motion?
my motion was for approval of the raising of the door and the installation of marble steps with a handrail, but denial of the new door that's reduced in width.
Commissioner Holloman.
What does yes mean? What does no mean?
Yes means you agree with Dan's motion, which is to approve the raising of the door, but deny the new entryway door.
And my vote is no.
Commissioner Cooperman.
No,
Commissioner Rabauer.
No.
Commissioner Leck.
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
No,
Commissioner Treat.
No.
Commissioner Carney.
No.
Commissioner McCouprie.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Connor.
Yes.
Vice Chair Washington
No.
and Chair Frankel.
My vote is no. That being said, would you like to make a motion, Emily?
sure. John, do you want to?
8-3, the motion
Okay.
fails.
Thank you. I move that we deny the application for changes to the doorway at 408 South 22nd Street.
I'll second.
Are there any commissioners that oppose at this time? Hearing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you to our applicant, and thank you to Josh from our staff. Next, we'll move on to 422 5 Pine
Thank
Street.
you very much.
We'll turn it over to Ted Mouse from the Historic Commission staff to present.
Good morning, everyone. I believe that several representatives of the applicants are on the call. If Ryan Crochetto and Andy Marsden can be, if they raise their hand in Zoom, please let them be elevated. I'll read an overview. This application proposes legalizing the removal of slate roofing and its replacement with GAF Timberline Ultra High Definition asphalt fiberglass shingles in a charcoal color on the mansard at 4225 Pine Street. This property is part of a larger development row on the 4200 block of Pine Street, all of which historically featured slate mansard roofs. The properties on the block were listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places in July 2024 as part of the Southeast Spruce Hill Historic District, meaning that any slate mansard replacement prior to written notice being sent to property owners was not reviewed by the Historical Commission. In October and December 2025, and again in January 2026, a community member contacted the Department of Licenses and Inspections to inform it of the recent replacement of the slate with asphalt fiberglass shingles at this property. The Department of Licenses and Inspections issued a violation for the roofing work without a building permit in January 2026, prompting this request for legalization from the property owner. According to the National Park Service's Preservation Brief number 29, slate roofs have a lifespan of 60 to 125 years. Section 6.10.C4 of the Commission Rules and Regulations states that the staff shall review and may approve without referral to the Architectural Committee and the Commission permit applications proposing the replacement of slate roofing materials with the exception of mansards, turrets, and other character-defining features, provided the severity of deterioration requires replacement and the substitute materials closely approximate the color and shape of the historic slate roofing materials. The Historical Commission staff acknowledges that the slate on the mansard reached the end of its lifespan, but it would have been unable to administratively approve a black asphalt fiberglass shingle in this shape as a replacement, had this application been submitted as a building permit application for review in advance of the work commencing. At the request of the Architectural Committee, the applicants have provided, as part of their supplemented application, cost estimates for slate replacement and alternative materials. At its March meeting, the Architectural Committee voted to recommend denial pursuant to Standard 6.
Thank you very much, Ted. We'll hear from the applicant.
I'm gonna go over. Yeah, go ahead. Hi, my name is Ryan Crochetto. I'm the property manager for this property. Essentially, we dropped the ball with not remembering that this property had been designated by the Historical Commission. The slates were starting to fall off the roof. We knew they needed to be replaced, and when we reached out to a contractor to do it, he told us we didn't need any permits, and so we just went forward with the replacement. And we definitely dropped the ball on that, but we are just asking that since the work has now been done, and since there are 19 other properties on the block that use some kind of asphalt shingle, that we just be allowed to keep what was already done and just pay whatever permits or resolve the L&I violation or whatever we need to do, essentially.
Thank you. Any comments from commissioners this time?
I would just say the Architectural Committee agreed with the staff and pointed out too that if you look closely at the photographs, that a lot of the flashings and ridge hips have been damaged or misshapen in the process. The valleys have just been shingled over. And that the profile of the shingle, even were we to accept an asphalt, is not appropriate for a slate look-alike.
Yep. John, you have a comment?
I just want to comment that just the quality of the installation isn't very, it's not very well done. I know these come up pretty frequently I lean towards asphalt as a acceptable installation, but the quality of work isn't very good at all.
Any other comments from commissioners? Any comments from the public at this time?
No hands are raised.
Great. Is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
Dan McCoubrey, I will make a motion to deny the legalization of installation of asphalt shingles at 4225 Pine Street.
Second.
Any commissioners in opposition at this time? Hearing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much. Commissioners, seeing as we're heading into the report on the historic designation, why don't we take a 5-10 minute hiatus and we'll reconvene here at 10:25. Welcome back, everybody, to this state meeting of the Philadelphia Historical Commission. With that, we will turn to the report of the Committee on Historical Designation, and Chair Emily Cooperman. We will start with the first item on the agenda, which is 1018 South 2nd Street. We'll turn it over again to Kim from the staff to present.
Good morning. This is Kim Chantry with the staff. I'm going to read a brief overview for 1018 South 2nd Street. We do have the property owner here. So Henry, if you want to come up to the table while I'm reading the overview, that works. This nomination proposes to designate the property at 1018 South 2nd Street in the Southwark or Queen Village neighborhood and listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. The nomination contends that the property satisfies criteria for designation A and J. Under criterion A, the nomination asserts that the building's early history is associated with prominent medical doctor Andrew Nebinger Jr. Under criterion J, the nomination argues that the property's funeral home use, dating back to 1898 and extending through present day, exemplifies the cultural, social, and historical heritage of the Southwark community as part of a broader pattern of neighborhood-based, family-operated funeral establishments deeply embedded in South Philadelphia's social fabric. The Committee on Historic Designation voted to recommend that the nomination demonstrates that 1018 South 2nd Street satisfies criteria for designation A and J.
Thank you, Liz. We will hear from the applicant. Go ahead.
That's all?
Yeah.
Yes. Good morning. I'm Henry Chapunski. I'm honored to come here. My property there is the Chapunski Funeral Home. On the left, that was taken in 1870 from Shot Tower Recreation Center. And I have a few items here I'd like to show you. This is a Dr. Nebinger's medicine package. Look at that. These items were found in an attic upstairs. I have coins here from 1837 to 1888. Half dimes is a penny, 1837 penny. I have I never heard of this organic telegraph from the 1800s. I have a concert at 1515 Chestnut Street from the Mite Society, Association Hall. It's a ticket, February 17, 1886. I got a bunch of tickets. Just wanted to show you a few items I had that were in. Regrettably, I lost when a renovation upstairs in the attic. They had pictures, a booklet of all caskets being made by the Bowens Funeral Home. It was beautiful handcrafted pictures that the people could pick out for caskets. But regrettably, somebody took it. I lost that. And I also received a phone call from Dana Walsh, W-A-L-Z. She's in West Virginia. She's a relative of Robert Nebinger. When Andrew died, he was a bachelor. Robert was living there for a while. She has pictures of their great-grandmother sitting in my parlor, which is still the original parlor, with the pictures, and She also told me that they're the benefactor of the art museum in 1800s. Their pictures are in the art museum. All three, George, Robert, and Andrew's pictures are in the art museum she has a diary from Robert. So, and she's very well, she thought the place was demolished and all, and she was excited. She called me. She wants to come down and visit my place and come and really get involved in the process of historic. So these are a few things I had to offer for you.
Very interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Okay,
coming down
you're
here and sharing. We appreciate it. Are there any comments from the public at this time? Any comments from commissioners at this time?
One moment, let me check on public comment.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's John. There's no hands are raised.
Any other comments from commissioners at this time?
I just also wanted to say thank you very much, Mr. Chaplinsky, for your efforts in all of this and working with Heather and Kim and the rest of the staff. And thank you very much for taking the time to come in person to the
Okay.
meeting. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Yes, yeah.
And the only other thing I wanted to mention was if the Nebinger, Ms. Walls,
Yes.
is interested in having that diary go to someplace where the public can access it, I would suggest that she get in touch with the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. They may be interested in it. I don't know. I can't speak
She's
for them,
interested. She
but
wanted even.
yeah.
You want to even give me the pictures to put on a wall on sides.
Yeah.
So she's very,
I would say that.
and I'm going to call her up after this.
Yeah,
I was told I want to see the meeting,
suggest, that she get in touch with the Historical Society of
Sure.
Pennsylvania, which is not the Historical Commission.
Yes,
It's a different
yes.
organization.
Sure.
But they have archives that the public can access.
Okay, will do. Yeah, she's very encouraged. She really is happy about it.
Great, that's wonderful.
Okay.
And the committee was very enthusiastic about this nomination and the quality of the research and the narratives that it brought forward.
Thank you. Thank you again to I'm sorry, we need the motion.
Yeah.
I apologize. Chair Frankel, there is one hand
Okay.
raised from the public.
Yeah, please go ahead.
It was just lowered. Sorry.
Okay. Is there a motion from commissioners at this time? Go ahead.
Yes, I mean, I'm happy to go ahead unless somebody else would like to.
Go ahead.
Could you show me the criteria? Thank you. I move that we add 1018 South Second Street, the Andrew Nebinger Jr. House and Chaplinsky Funeral Home to the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places as satisfying criteria for designation A and J.
Are any commissioners opposed at this time? Hearing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you very much to our applicant.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Next, we'll move on to 601 West Godfrey. We will turn over to Dr. Farnham.
Good morning again. Before I read a brief overview, I'd like to ask if there's anyone representing the property owner in the audience, if you could raise your hand. And I'll note that we have not had any communication with the property owner other than the required notice letters, and attempts to reach the property owner outside of the notice letters haven't been successful. And the property owner did not participate in the committee meeting, but if someone is here representing the property owner, please raise your hand. So this nomination proposes to designate the property at 601 West Godfrey Avenue, known as the Carl Metz House and listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. The nomination asserts that the property satisfies criteria for designation C and D. The nomination contends that the Carl Metz House reflects the environment characterized by a distinctive architectural style, the quote-unquote Spanish type architecture, and embodies distinguishing characteristics of that style, satisfying criteria C and D. constructed by real estate developer Carl Metz to designs by his son Carl Metz Jr. in 1927, when the Spanish colonial revival style was at the apex of its popularity. The Carl Metz House is one of the finest single-family residential examples of the style in Philadelphia and therefore merits designation as an historic landmark. The Committee on Historic Designation reviewed the nomination and voted to recommend that it demonstrates that the property at 601 West Godfrey Avenue satisfies criteria for designation C and D. And I'll just note for the record, no hands have been raised, so the owner is not in attendance today.
Thank you very much. Are there any comments from commissioners in this?
I just wanted to say that the committee really appreciated the quality of the nomination and the new information that it provided, and was very enthusiastic in endorsing this property for designation.
Any other comments from commissioners? Go ahead, Bob.
Just very quickly, if you look at an aerial photo, you'll notice, I'm sorry, if you look at an aerial photo, you'll see that when you get to Godfrey, suddenly there are very large lots like this, and that extends up into Oak Lane. The reason for that was in 1855, the North Pennsylvania Railroad opened up and ran through this area. We just did a study on this material, and the Fern Rock Station was right on Godfrey Avenue up until the new terminal was built in the 1980s. There was a nice station there. So that's what led to this, and also the development of the large homes in Oak Lane.
Yeah. Any other comments from commissioners? Are there any comments from the public at this time?
One hand is raised. David Traub.
Go ahead, Mr. Traub.
David Traub, representing Save Our Sites. Of course, the house satisfies both criteria C and D, but I wanted to go and say I'm so pleased that a house in the East Oak Lane neighborhood is being nominated. I don't recall one, at least in recent memory. I don't know that there's been a nomination, but it's a remarkable neighborhood. There's an immense variety of housing types. There are attached houses, detached houses. There are a little group of very modern early 20th century Bauhaus type houses. One in particular on Godfrey Avenue. But great part of the neighborhood is very much like a suburb with houses of this sort, like the Metz house, a whole cluster of them. It's like a suburb far outside the city limits. And I think that's a very desirable and important feature to have within the city of Philadelphia. So I would encourage more nominations for houses in East Oak Lane, maybe even a thematic designation area. So I applaud this nomination and with a great alacrity. Thank you very much for setting it forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Traub. Any other comments from the public at this time?
No other hands raised.
Okay. Seeing no public comment, is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
I'm happy to go ahead again.
Go ahead, Emma.
I move that we add 601 West Godfrey Avenue, the Carl Metz House, to the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places as satisfying criteria for designation C and D.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any commissioners in opposition at this time? Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners, and we will turn it over to 119 East Gowan Avenue. We will ask Alex Till from the Historic Commission staff to present. Go ahead, Alex.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners. First, could we please elevate nominator Adrian Trevisan to panelist for this? And I believe if Ken Weinstein is logged in, he is involved with this project as well. So this nomination proposes to designate the property at 119 East Gowan Avenue and list it on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. The two-story brick and frame stick-style building was designed by architect Frank Furness and constructed in 1883 as one of a series of station buildings for the Philadelphia and Reading Railroad. The nomination contends that the building satisfies criteria for designation A as an example of the development of the Mount Airy neighborhood and for its association with Franklin B. Gowan. It also contends that the property is significant under criterion E, as Frank Furness was a notable architect whose work significantly influenced the architectural development of the city. The Committee on Historic Designation at their meeting voted to recommend that the property at 119 East Gowan Avenue satisfies criteria for designation A and E.
Thank you, Alex. Are there any comments from commissioners at this time?
Just briefly to summarize, the committee's response was they were extremely enthusiastic and in a way surprised that this wasn't already designated.
My reaction too.
So it was an extremely welcome and high quality nomination. And so again, also very enthusiastically endorsed by the committee.
Thank you.
Can I just add that I believe Bob Powers is actually here potentially standing in for Adrian. Powers and Company are the authors.
Yeah, by all means, Bob, you can be elevated to speaker if you'd like to say a few words.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, unfortunately, Adrian Trevisan, who prepared the nomination, is on vacation this week. So it's up to me to represent us with this nomination, but I'm happy to do so. And certainly if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. And this is part of a bigger project, I think, that can maybe address where SEPTA is leasing a number of these stations. And we're doing nominations, local nominations, national nominations, as well as tax credits on a number of these stations. So it should be really a positive, I think, development on these stations that have been, many of them, which have been neglected for many years. So happy to answer any questions if I can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other comments from commissioners?
I believe Ken Weinstein may have a word or two to say. He's on the
applicant.
He's essentially the property owner in this matter. He's leasing the station from SEPTA.
I've never missed an opportunity to speak, so thank you. Big thank you to Bob Powers' staff. I agree strongly with Emily that we were also very surprised this was not yet historically designated, since the other 4 stations that we will be restoring are already designated. So this will finish it off and allow us to move forward with our plans to restore these 5 Northwest Philly stations and preserve them for another couple hundred years. So I'm looking forward to getting started with this project.
Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners at this time? Seeing no comments, would anyone like to make a motion? Go ahead, Bob.
We place. I move that we place the Mount Airy train
Public
station.
comment? Sorry.
No hands are raised.
No hands are raised. Go ahead, Bob.
I make a motion that we place the Mount Airy train station on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places as meeting requirements A and E.
I'll second.
Any in opposition? Seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners, and thank you to our staff and our nominators.
Great. Thank you all. Have a good
Thank
day.
you. Yep, and we'll move on to our last item on the agenda for historic designation, 701 West Johnson Street, and we'll turn it back over to Josh from the Historic Commission to speak.
Good morning, Josh Schroeder with the staff. If we could keep or re-elevate Ken Weinstein, who is the owner of this property, and elevate Oscar Beiser, who authored the nomination. I will read a quick overview. This nomination proposes to designate the property at 701 West Johnson Street, known as the Bluebell Mission, and listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places under criterion J. The Bluebell Mission is a 1-story frame building that sits on a schist foundation. The original portion of the mission is recognizable as a simple chapel with a basic rectangular shape with steep gabled roof and a brick vestibule entrance centered on the primary elevation. A small cupola once existed on the front of the main roof, and there are three additions of varying size and configuration at the rear. The mission was first constructed in 1879 as a Methodist mission chapel on the site of what is now 6244 Wissahickon Avenue before it was physically moved to its present location in 1922. The proposed period of significance spans the chapel's construction in 1879 until the end of its affiliation with the Methodist Church in 2013, when it was sold to the Mount Airy United Fellowship Church, who used the building for another several years. The nomination contends that the property satisfies criterion J for its tenure as a religious and community centerpiece of the Bluebell Hill neighborhood and is one of the remaining so-called mission chapels. And the Committee on Historic Designation recommended adding 701 West Johnson Street to the Register of Historic Places, as it satisfies criterion J.
Thank you very much. I guess we'll hear from the applicant now.
Oscar Beiser at Keeping Society. I just want to thank the commission for reviewing this nomination and for the property owner, Ken Weinstein, for preserving the building and seeing that it gets a proper reuse. The building is nominated under criterion J. I think three major points, which were sort of discussed previously, are just that, you know, this is a lot of these Methodist churches especially in Northwest Philadelphia, started out as these small kind of mission chapel buildings, almost all of which, were replaced by larger stone or brick churches. This is one of the only ones that I know of in Northwest Philadelphia to survive. And it's, looks like something that you'd see in a rural area rather than in Philadelphia. And I think one of the reasons why it did survive is because it was one of the few institutional buildings of the Bluebell Hill community, which is adjacent to Rittenhouse Town. While it is technically in Roxborough Township, it was also sort of associated with Germantown, just like Rittenhouse Town was kind of, associated with Germantown, even though it was outside of the Germantown boundary. And then another interesting fact is that it was actually moved from Wissahickon Avenue to this location. It is sort of interesting. They had it jacked up and ready to go, and they had their final service while it was in that state, waiting to be moved. So I don't know if L&I would allow that now, but it's a really sweet building, and we were excited to present this. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from commissioners? No questions or any questions from the public? Go ahead.
I'm sorry, it took me a minute to get there. David Traub has his hand raised.
Go ahead, Mr. Traub.
David Traub again. Want to thank Oscar and the commission for moving this nomination forward. I just have a suggestion for Mr. Weinstein, since he's is now the owner, and it would be desirable if some of the charm of the original building were restored or put back in place. The materiality and the coloration, some of the details, the truss-like elements under the gables. Replacing the cupola might be going a little too far, but I'll leave that at Mr. Weinstein's discretion. But that certainly would be something that would be very nice to see. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Traub. Any other comments from the public?
No other hands are raised.
Okay. Is there a motion from commissioners at this time?
I can go ahead.
Go ahead.
I move that we add 701 West Johnson Street, the Bluebell Mission, to the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places as satisfying criterion for designation J.
Great. Is there a second?
John Leck, I'll second.
Great. Are any commissioners opposed at this time? Great. Hearing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners, and thank you, Josh, from our staff. Thank you to our nominator. Next, we'll move on to old business. We have one item on the agenda for old business at 1018 Winter Street. And we turn over to Allison from the Historic Commission staff to present.
Good morning, everyone. If the applicant, Sam Zhu, or the owner, Harry Leong, is in the meeting, please raise your hand and you'll be elevated to panelist. Thank you. This application was originally presented at the February Architectural Committee meeting. The original submission proposed demolishing the majority of the primary facade, roof, and rear L of the building at 1018 Winter Street and reconstructing it with a contemporary design and materials. The building was constructed in 1830 and retains a high level of historic integrity with its form, features, and materials. It is individually listed on the Philadelphia Register of Historic Places. Although the rear of the property has a parking area, the back of the building is not visible from the public right-of-way. The applicant submitted a revised application based on the committee's recommendation that it should be revised to maintain the building's historic main block and limit demolition to the rear of the property. The Architectural Committee did recommend denial pursuant to standards 2, 9, and 10.
Thank you, Allison.
And just real quick so that we can visually orient ourselves, we have some photos of the property in 1972. The lower image shows actually the rear. I actually had to walk through a private parking lot to shoot this photo, so this really is not visually accessible to the public.
Thank you.
Great. Kim, are the applicants in the meeting?
Yep, the applicant is here. Please elevate yourself.
Okay, if you can please unmute to speak to the commissioners. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Harry Young. I'm the owner, family-owned property. And Sam Su, I'm not sure if he's here. Sam Su is the architect for this. And we came last month in regard to providing the information that we forwarded to you. And we also had, we're requested to do a structural report, and we provided that. And right now, yeah, and that's where we are right now.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any questions from commissioners at this time?
Dan McCoubry, would start out by saying this is a great step in the right direction. However, the drawings that have been provided at this point do not adequately show the configuration of the addition, and especially its relationship to the main block of the house. The section seems to show the rear wall of the main block there, but it seems to be largely demolished, but that is not clear. So I would suggest that this comes back to the Architectural Committee, as it's a kind of a fundamental change in the design, and that the documents be fleshed out to show elevations of what the new, of the new, we'll call it the new rear wing. But in general, I think it's the correct direction.
Right. Thank you. Any other comments from commissioners? Seeing no comments, are there any comments from the public?
No hands are raised, and I just for the record point out that I don't see the architect Sam Zhu in the meeting. He has not been present during the morning today as the meeting has progressed, but we did email him to notify him of the meeting and provide the meeting information.
Got it. Thank you. Okay. Is there a motion from
So I will make a motion to deny the application as presented due to incompleteness and remand this back to the Architectural Committee.
Thank you.
And I would urge the applicant to get in touch with the staff, work with the staff to develop the proper materials for presentation.
Great. Thank you.
Just
Second.
before you vote on that, can I just point out that you can either deny the application or remand it to the committee, but you can't do both.
Oh,
Okay,
then I will take the remanding route.
great. Is there a second?
Second.
Any commissioners opposed at this time? Okay, seeing no opposition, that motion is adopted by unanimous consent. Thank you very much, commissioners. Thank you to our staff. Today we will skip the report on the activities of the Historical Commission staff. And with that, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting of the Philadelphia Historical Commission.
Second.
Any commissioners opposed? No. Seeing no opposition, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to our staff. Most importantly, for all the hard work that goes into this meeting. Thank you to our public as well, and we will see you again next month.